What's up, everyone, and welcome to Parks Podcast presented by DGA. I'm Mitch Phillips and joined by Zach Harrison. We're going to be recapping all the storylines, everything that went down in a very interesting World Championships, the PDGA Professional Disc Golf World Championships in Lynchburg, Virginia, where Isaac Robinson, our very own Georgia grown, goes back-to-back. First time since Ricky Wysocki in 2017, also in Georgia. And Evelina Salomon picks up her second major of the year, first world title in not necessarily winning it, but kind of lost it less than the other competitors. We're going to get into all that here. Stay tuned. It's going to be a great little episode we got going here. Zach, how are you? What's going on, man? Have you settled in after all of the disc golf and the worlds and all the things?
Yeah, man. My stomach settled after the roller coaster that was Worlds.
Yeah.
I was certainly dedicated watching FPO, watching MPO. Had no idea what was going to happen, so that was exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just kind of settling back into it. Curious to see what happens and where the season carries from here.
Mm-hmm.
Now that honestly, some players have seen some things on the good side and the bad side of their own game. See like what they go and try to change or execute differently next tournament. But yeah, just hanging out, watching a pup this week. So I'm in a new location. Stole one of their beers. So
hey, there you go. What are you drinking there?
This is a summer shandy, or shall I say, end of summer shandy.
True.
So it's a nice little lemony lager. It's pretty good. It's solid.
A little Leinenkugel.
It is a Leinenkugel.
Classic, baby. Classic. Well, man, we'll jump into what I'm sipping on. And it's actually funny because I'm drinking a beer that you gave me. And it is that season. End of summer is over almost. We are in Oktoberfest season. I'm drinking one of the big six, the Paulaner, however you say it, Oktoberfest beer. And man, quick history about this beer. I was looking it up. What do you think the first year this beer was brewed?
I'm going to say like 15,
ever since blank.
1578.
That's a long time. 1818 was when they first brewed their bottom fermented Oktoberfest beer during Oktoberfest. But Paulaner's been around since 1634, which is crazy. But glass is full of October sunshine, strong and golden. Man, I'm just loving drinking all these. We and I we were texting and going, all right, we're going to attempt to drink all 6 Oktoberfest beers. And I've knocked off 2 so far. So had the Spaten or the Spaten and the Paulaner now. So got to track them down. If you are attempting to do that, let us know over at Park Podcast on Instagram or comment below where you get the beers, because we got to figure out where to get some of these for sure. But man, I am settling in after the World Championships as well, but I settled back into some Formula One where I'm rocking my McLaren hat today because Lando Norris wins by 22 plus seconds over Max Verstappen, and I am freaking hyped. Only person to win by more than 22 seconds in the last 2 to 3 years was Max Verstappen. So to beat him at his own home track, it was a crazy weekend. I was so freaking stoked to see Lando back on the top step. So repping the boys today. But let's get into some disc golf here. What we're here for, the World Championships. I said it in the intro. We'll jump into the courses and everything too, but we're actually going to go back because it wasn't that who won the FPO division. It was who lost it less, which is a very weird thing to say. It was painful. I'm not going to lie. It was painful. But before we get into that, let's go back to last week's episode and actually review some of these predictions we had. So we'll start with the MPO and our podiums straight up. So podium I had was Gannon Burr, Ezra Robinson, and Nicholas Antala. So I got one of them right. Got Nicholas on the podium. Yours was Gannon, Ricky, and Kyle Klein, which I put an LOL next to.
23 is not bad.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. But it was just like never even heard his name all weekend. And the FPO, I had Holland, Kristen, and Silva. Silva, not really too much in the mix. She was on coverage a good amount, but just kind of fell off once we got into the open. Did hit the basket on the downhill hole 7.
Yeah, that was sick.
It was so sick.
Like a basket was hit. Shot.
Yeah, the basket was hit multiple times. And your FPO was Own, not even close.
So lucky.
Chris Zatar and Evelina, which you said, and I quote, I don't know, I'm going to go Evelina. This is a wild pick, but I'm feeling Evelina. Well done, Zach. You got the winner in yours. I got a runner-up, so we didn't do too bad.
Not too shabby.
Not at all. What's funny is I said about Evelina, this is a quote from last episode, her tee to green is always insane, and I think that's what could have her do well and win the championship only on that. That's crazy. I mean, Yeah, that guy's a genius who said that. But pretty wild. And then you said this, and I think this is, we'll transition back into what happened here. You said no one knows these courses, how these courses will play. So this might be the most exciting worlds in a long time, as long as we can remember. There's been a lot of talk about that. Before we get into the scores and everything, let's talk about the courses and just the overall arcing stories. Over on Reddit, I was looking into some of this and kind of the post discussion, and the top upped comment here is this right here from a guy named James Harden's beard. It took me a bit to figure out what exactly bothered me about Ivy Hill. It's a lack of scramble opportunities. If you miss a shot, you go straight to the OB and you have to lay up from a drop zone. There's no real scrambling, and this actually made for a pretty stale last 2 rounds, in my opinion. I completely agree. Yeah. I think it just felt like kind of sleeper. Like there was not as much excitement, not as much like pizzazz in those last 2 rounds that I feel like there usually is, especially on the MPO side. Mm-hmm. The FPO side was dramatic as it can be because it was so bad. Like, I mean, I'm just going to say it. It was just bad. It didn't feel like a world championship finish. It was awkward. Like, yeah. I mean, what are your immediate responses to that?
The course itself, I wasn't a huge fan of, because rather than making you pay attention to the in-flight path of a disc, all that really mattered was, where does the disc land?
Right.
That's the only thing that matters. And so there's nothing out there that requires you to shape a shot and worry about mid-flight as much as you have to worry about how does it land, or where does it land? Because a lot of the time you land in a perfect position and you skip or you roll out of bounds. And it just became a coin flip on some of those holes where it's like, I threw it how I know I should, but it just got a bad reaction that I had no control over.
Yep.
So for me, it was a little boring in the sense of like, there's no, whoa, he barely missed the tree and he parks it. It's like, oh, he threw the Spike Kaiser and it was really safe.
Yep.
You know, it's just not as
he happened to barely miss the stake, so he stayed in bounds, or he hit the rope and he did not stay in bounds, or he hit a dead center putt that rolled freaking 700 feet away. Or she threw out of bounds multiple times when everyone else was in bounds. Like, I just feel like the decision making was once it was out of your hand, the decision was made, which is always true. But then I feel like everyone was playing this like weird, like timid golf, especially on the FPO side. You saw so much of this, like almost playing in fear. It felt like on like shots. There was, I forget what hole it was, that the commentators even said every round at Ivy Hill, they were like, why is Holland not throwing forehand here? Like, it was like, there's this fear. Oh, it could skip. Oh, it could do that. And yeah, it's higher tension, higher, nerves at the world championships. But I feel like it took it. A part of disc golf that I love so much is the scrambling. Ricky Wysocki, known as the best scrambler there freaking is.
Yeah.
He didn't get to scramble. He didn't get to use one of the best tools in his kit. And it definitely was interesting to not see any scrambling, and the scrambling done for you going out of bounds. I will say the out of bounds, other than maybe the hole 17 at Ivy, was like not the greatest out of bounds thing. I would rather have it
out of bounds.
Yeah. I would rather have it like going back towards the water or something. But other than that, like the drop zones were fair. I liked the way that it played, but
it just doesn't give you any chance, right? Like that's what the post was saying is you go long on that big downhill 490-foot hole with hay bales. And if you're in the hazard short, you actually have a putt for par. But circle. If you go long or you roll out, you then have the 80-foot drop zone
with OB right behind
OB on an elevated basket. So it's like there's just no chance. And I guess you could go for it, but who would do that unless it's like I have to make a par to have a chance to win. But even then, it's like if I bogey, I'm missing out on $5,000.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, so, I mean,
that's my take. Is it? Yeah. It doesn't offer very much, and like spectating wasn't that exciting.
Yeah, I think we talked about it last episode that we had to have the final round be at and more rounds than not be at Ivy Hill for spectators. I don't know the total number of spectators, but from the drone shots and everything, it was a lot of people. It was a lot of people. Last thing I'll say before we get into how it all played out, someone also on Reddit was saying there shouldn't ever be a time where the disc golf world championships are played on courses that have no knowledge, because there's no, oh, this is a big signature hole. There's so many question marks around it. And yeah, there was like an A tier, the Bedford Battle at Bedford, I think it was there, or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember the name of that tournament, but one of those in that county was there and like kind of had a, a precursor of like how this would play and, actual competitive style. But like not having that, I can see now I have an expectation of what it's going to feel like. It just kind of felt lackluster. Like it was making me yawn at times. Like I was like, I don't know. Like it was exciting, but boring. It was the world championships. If this was not the world championships, I don't think I would have watched all these rounds. Like I just wouldn't have.
Yeah. Which is upsetting, honestly. It's upsetting because you want it to be like bite your nails, edge of your seat the whole time,
Yeah.
and we just didn't really get that. And part of that was the way it all lined up with scores. But the other part of it was just how you have to play the courses.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's jump in. Let's do FPO first because I feel like there was definitely more drama here. I think there was a lot of just honestly just frustration and complaining even before the tournament even started about some of the OB carries and some of the different things. But I feel like they kind of sorted it out. The players got used to it and it kind of died down. But they pushed the players to levels where it goes, if you want to win a world championship, you got to be able to throw this far. Like, sorry that you're not going to see everyone do this. Hey, we had people lay up on 17 multiple times and not even go for it. You had Cat Merch like look at the camera, pick up her disc and be like, you happy? Like it was it was like kind of mocking it. But after round two, we kind of moved past that. But man, just hit us with the stats. Evelina wins her first world title, and Holland Hanley was in control the entire time and did what unfortunately Holland does and shoots way below her rating. There's a stat here. Here we go. On average, so her rating is 985. On average, she shoots a 967 rated final round. Like for just her leading going into the championship, whatever it is in any tournament, she shoots over almost 20 points below her rating in the final round. She threw it away.
It's a mental thing, right? Like when the pressure is on her the most, something's going on where she just can't get out of this like funk, right? Her stats were great, right? Like everything related to statistics, she was playing great golf. It's that final round that just like the double bogeys and everything that happened.
12 out of bounds in the final round.
Out of bounds strokes alone were crazy, but I don't know, man. It was a really interesting thing because at the end of it all, putt for show, or sorry, drive for show, putt for dough got completely flipped on us.
Not even close.
I don't know what to believe anymore now. I
don't either. Does putting even matter? Like what?
Evelina didn't make a single circle 2 putt
all weekend or
all weekend. 0 for 23. 0 for 23.
When you look at the MPO side, if you're not making circle 2 putts, you're losing.
Right.
Like that is crazy.
And she missed 23 circle 1X putts.
Yeah. What was her total? She was in circle 2 in regulation 73% of the time.
Yeah. Only 23 out of the 90 holes she was not putting for a birdie from circle 2. She still also has the fewest bogeys, bogey plus at 13.
Right. Well, it's kind of hard to bogey when you're within 15 feet and when you're in circle 1, 53% of the time, and circle 2, 73% of the time.
And think about how many of those bogeys were 3 putts.
Yeah.
Where it was a 2-stroke swing on the same hole for herself.
Yeah.
Like moments like that, it just makes me question, like, should I just be the best driver off the tee and not putt anymore?
I mean, honestly, yeah. I mean, and it's, yeah. Where's she at? So she putted 63% circle 1X putting, 63% for the tournament. 40 out of 63.
Holly Finley putted 95% circle 1. Missed 3 circle 1 putts all week long.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Holland, 89%. Only missed 5 circle 1 putts.
which is crazy. Yeah.
And
It's
so
just
it is crazy.
mhm,
It's wild to see. It's wild to see it happen that way.
mhm,
But I mean, if you're not going to bogey out on a course that really like sucks the life out of you, you're gonna start climbing the leaderboard. And
right.
that's FPO in a nutshell. A lot of the time is if
True.
you can just make sure you're not falling, you're actually rising to the top.
Yeah.
And that's what she did. And I think James Proctor helped her a ton in
So
that
much.
final round just to say, look, all you have to do is throw it here and then
Mhm,
there, and then you have a layup. You could
right.
lay it up. You don't have to run the putt. Just lay it
Mhm,
up and take a par here. Right.
yeah.
Especially when she sees Holland go out of bounds twice on a hole,
Mhm,
you know? So that was crazy. I think she was the only
very
person who had another pro golfer as a caddy on
right.
the lead or the top two cards.
Yeah, and we've talked about that before, that you have, not having someone, and obviously this tournament's a little different. I mean, uh, James literally put his own round on the line to do it. He teed off like an hour and a half after he walked the entire course with
Yeah.
Evelina, and it hurt him. He dropped a couple spots. Still great top 15 finish, but like it definitely hurt him. But no one else is doing that, rightfully so. But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. The final round was just who could lose it less. Our text feed between me, you, and Gage, our producer here at DGA, was hilarious. Like
Yeah.
we
Oh
were
yeah.
just, I typed at one point in all caps, in all caps. I'll read my all caps messages. In all caps, I typed, the putter is so bad. And then also I typed in all caps, just put it in bounds. Everyone else is out. Like, and then I wrote, hole 14's green is destroying dreams.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, that
it
was
was
true.
just, it was brutal. Like, but the door was open so many times to where it was like, just walk through it. Please just walk through it. And they just didn't. It was like
Yeah.
weird to watch. Like, you just watch someone throw out of bounds, throw the shot that you don't have to park it anymore. Throw the shot that gets you 100% the easiest way to play the hole. And they just like didn't deviate from that. And then, I don't know. It was just odd to watch. There wasn't much planning. It was more just like the nerves were so high. It's final round at Worlds. And it just had a very odd tension, which made the drama back and forth. I mean, the lead shifted so many times
Yeah.
in the FPO division going down the stretch. Like, I wrote, all of a sudden it's a 3-horse race after hole 7, anyone's championship. Like, it was crazy. Like, people, no one's capitalizing on mistakes. Both top players go be on hole 7. All Holland had to do is get in bounds. Like, it's just, it's weird. I don't know. It's just so odd.
I think things would have been dramatically different had they have had 3 rounds at New London.
Hmm. Why?
Because I think like you actually bring scrambles into play,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like scrambling in the woods,
Yep.
shaping lines, but still having to throw for distance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's actually going to reward the women more than Ivy Hill does.
Okay.
Not that Ivy Hill is like not attackable, because it totally is.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, look at round 3's stats for some of the ladies. Like, first of all, Evelina went off,
Yeah.
even though she
100% circle 2 in
100%,
regulation.
100% fairway hits.
Yep.
Like, I don't understand. And that's throwing par 4s and par 5s, like hitting the
Mhm.
fairway every time. Um, I mean, Holland parked almost 25% of the holes. So
Yeah,
like
but
it
was
was
only, but
exciting to
her
watch.
circle 1 and 2 in regulation was like 35% on average,
Right.
compared to 90% on average from Evelina. So, yeah, there was definitely more of a spread on that course for the FPO division.
And I think it was just more fun to watch in
Mhm.
general. Now I know probably like being on site, it probably was a little bit harder,
Yeah.
but we saw ladies getting eagles on multiple holes. I mean, Holland started out the whole thing with 2 eagles, an eagle on 7 and an eagle on 9 in
Mhm.
round 1. Like, that was exciting to me. I'm like, this is
Yep,
great golf. This is fun to watch. There's not
for
just a
sure.
ton of punishment. It's like throwing great shots, shaping good lines, making good putts, and you're rewarded for it.
Mhm.
And then they go out to New London, or sorry, Ivy Hill. She shoots 2 under,
Yep.
which still keeps her in the lead, but like so much more negativity on the card. 6 out of
Mhm.
bounds strokes in that one round,
Yeah.
right? Still almost 1,000 rated, which is
Mhm.
awesome. But I don't know. It's just whether it's the different style of play that they wanted everyone to have, or whether they just thought we're gonna make a hard, uh, quasi accurate course. You know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah.
making you throw accurate shots, but it's really just where you land. I don't know, man. It's an interesting thing. I'm more partial to woods golf, and I know
Right.
that's me as a player in general,
Mhm.
but
Well, I
to
mean,
watch
we've
it,
talked about it a lot. It's like seeing, I think a world championships needs a wood golf and an open course. Do I think that this was done well? Do we have a great woods course? Yes. Do we have a great open course? No, yes, no. I don't know. It just, I think we're both are landing on, I think a majority of the community is landing on the fact that like there was something missing here and there
mhm,
was a lackluster finish to it. And it was just trying to stay above water in the FPO field. And then in the MPO field, it was going, even if you're pushing and you're trading strokes, it didn't feel like a fair trade. It felt like they were being stolen. It felt like it was because it wasn't something that you did bad. It wasn't something that you had a bad spit out. It was, oh, I threw a perfect shot. It stood up and rolled 100 feet away. And now I'm losing 2 strokes when I should have been gaining 2. Like
yeah,
there was just some things that just felt out of the control of the player, which might be where our sport's headed in some way because it was great spectating, because it was these beautiful rolling hills. But like that brings into play a lot of other things. Let's move down the FPL leaderboard and talk about Kat Merch. She had an absolutely just, I mean, she just didn't quit. I think I wrote as we were watching it. I wrote Merch is going to be there to pick up the pieces. She's got ice in the veins with the putter, and it's going to make a difference down the stretch. Like she had some huge putts, and
oh
for a
yeah,
long time, I don't think she felt any pressure. I don't. I think I was even questioning: is she feeling it? Is she going to start feeling it? Like she's never been in the lead. She was a couple strokes back the entire time, and she's watching other people around her stressed out, carrying the lead. And she's like, she's sleeping great at night. She's like, I'm just in this. I'm just here to, continue on when everything falls around me. And I think she probably had the most fun worlds and was congratulating people and watching it happen. Like her mental game looked so good. And to
yeah.
have her best finish ever at a major in second place was so awesome to watch. I genuinely loved watching her game. And it was, we talked about it a lot, is Cat usually has a great first round and then it just slowly falls off, but it felt like she stayed in it and was consistent the entire weekend.
Yeah, I really thought in that final round, by the middle of the round, I thought it was Cat. I thought
For
Cat was
sure.
gonna walk away with it because she got
For
hole
sure.
7, 8, 9, and 10. She birdied all
Yeah.
4 of those holes in the middle of the pack. And then meanwhile, Evelina was bogey, par, double bogey, birdie.
Mhm.
So that was heavy strokes in Cat's favor.
Yep.
But then the last 4 holes, last 5
Mhm.
holes, Cat goes out of bounds. Every single hole to close
Mhm.
out the round, she's
Yep.
out of bounds. And meanwhile, Evelina, birdie, 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 and then a couple pars, and she bogeys the last hole, but it
Just
didn't
laying
really
up. Yeah.
matter. It was just I'm gonna make my putt.
Yeah. Well, she laid up, hit the koozie, almost rolled down the hill.
She
Can you
did.
imagine? Can you imagine if she lays
Oh
up,
my
it
gosh.
rolls down the hill, and then we go to
And
a
they
playoff?
and they tie.
Can you imagine?
On that, I
That
don't
would be
know if
the,
that
I'm
would have
sorry.
been more fun or like more
That would have been the most
facepalm.
Evelina finish to a tournament ever. Like that's mean, but it's true.
You're
Sorry,
not
not
wrong,
sorry.
man.
But yeah, Kat was just, I mean, her stats, her putting was huge. I mean,
Yeah.
she hit long putts every round. Some of the OTB shots of the day were always, I think like 3 of them were her putts. Like
Yeah.
it was just crazy. And she's always been a fun player to watch. She finishes the tournament averaging almost 1,000. I mean, it's, yeah, I mean, she played lights out, and I think it was exciting. We talked about it. You mentioned at the beginning of this episode that we have a good idea of where a lot of players are headed, and a lot of players learned a lot from this. Kat Merch is definitely one who learned a lot and
Yeah.
learned to believe in herself and go. She's only won one Pro Tour event, and I think with this confidence, there's a chance that she maybe wins more the rest of the season. And in these longer tournaments, she now knows that she has what it takes to stay consistent, to not just have one pop off round, but actually close it out. So I love being able to watch her play. Moving right along, Kristen Tatar. What a weird, unexpected weekend from Kristen Tatar. I mean, golly, she starts the tournament with an over par +1 round at 957, which she starts round 2 11 strokes back, not
Mm.
even on coverage.
Yeah.
Like, it was such a question mark round. And then in round 2, she makes a little bit of a push, jumps up, but only shooting 1 under. Like you said,
Yep.
just
A lot of
staying
OBs.
clean. A lot of OBs, but she shot 1 under and jumped 11 spots. She kind of warms up a little bit more and jumps, another 4 spots. Shoots a great 5 under round back in the woods, makes a lot of corrections,
Yep.
100% C1X putting in round 3. And then in round 4, again, shoots a pretty solid round of 6 under. Again, the putter got going, minimizing OBs. And then she just kind of stuck around and somehow found herself on the podium as Holland fell so hard in the final round.
Yeah, I think what really
Yeah.
held Kristen back from climbing and, like, finding her momentum were the OB strokes and the C1 misses
Mhm.
in that final round. Even though she only had 3 circle 1 misses, some of those were ones where she knows it's like, that has to go in,
Yep.
right? Because 'Cause you're climbing, you're trying as hard
Mhm.
as you can to push,
And a lot of
and,
those were for par.
yes.
They were hazard putts
Yeah.
or those kind of things that's when you really need to make them.
Yeah, and, she was finding the fairways decently well. She was only off the fairway a few times, but it just wasn't enough, and
Mhm.
she clawing back like that, love it for her because, I mean, recently she had the same thing where she was so far back and playing terrible, and then she climbs and climbs and wins the tournament.
Mhm.
And that negative self-talk that sometimes you wanna give yourself when you're playing like garbage, you gotta push through, and I know she's dealt with it, other people have dealt
Yep.
with it. I think Evelina, the fact that she's still stepping up to those putts and going
Yeah.
through a routine and letting go and letting it fade 6
Mhm.
feet in front of the basket, okay, like, you're not giving up, you're gonna step up and you're gonna do it anyway.
Mhm. She's
I
just showing
commend
up.
them. I commend them all for just being there because, dude, I'll be honest, playing 5 rounds of golf, especially on these really tough courses, is
Mhm.
mentally exhausting,
Oh
and
my
at
gosh.
the end of the day, when you feel like you're not doing anything right, you ask yourself, "Why am I even here?
Mhm.
What am I doing here?
Yep.
Why am I trying this hard to suck so bad?"
Mhm.
Right? And it's like, it's not an easy thing to push through. I know I felt it. You guys have probably felt it. Anyone who's
Yeah.
listening, it's like,
Mhm.
why am I here? You're doing field work and you can't throw it right. Why am I even doing this? Why am I even trying if I
Yeah.
can't do it this well? So I give everyone props for grinding because this was, I mean, they put you guys through a meat grinder
Yeah.
through the woods and this
Yep.
artificial OB, man. I was pretty ticked with some of the green placements too. Like
Mhm.
hole 14 alone out at Ivy Hill was enough to piss me off. So I can't
Yep.
imagine having to play all these holes. But
Yeah. And hole
um,
14 forced you to throw such a long, long shot. And it was like no one wanted to par that hole, but par was a good score there. And when
yeah.
you tried to do it, unless you're Sullivan Tipton, let's just jump to that real quick. You throw in from 128 feet or whatever it was, 130 feet. What a freaking G, by the way.
Yeah,
I
baller.
owe you I told him I was gonna give him Jersey Mike's for a year if he or no, I think I said a month. I said I'll buy your Jersey Mike's for a month if you place top 3 at Worlds. And he unfortunately didn't. Spoilers, but throws it in. But hole 14, let's just talk about it. Dude, Holland just it wasn't even the basket that messed with people. We watched Simon do it, we watched Holland do it, and just shank an upshot into the out of bounds trying to play it safe.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you're now laying up again. And then Holland rolls all the way down the hill back into the out of bounds. And she gets an 8 on that hole.
Yeah.
And Kat hit OB off the tee and somehow saved par. Like, and then Evelina takes a birdie. Like, that was a huge swing.
And
Like,
honestly, man, it's those 50-50 greens that kind of piss me off because Holland's approach was actually
mhm.
great.
Oh, for sure.
Her approach was awesome, matches the angle of the hill and
Mhm.
everything, but then it just picks up and rolls. And like you can't really do anything about it.
Mm-mm.
But I will say on that note of getting a bad roll and rolling out of bounds,
Yeah.
know the rules that you can use because you can putt from the same lie,
Mhm.
right? You're putting from circle one and you hit cage and roll 80 feet out of bounds. You just take your original lie and you putt again, take a penalty stroke, add the
Yep.
stroke, and putt again. And Natalie did it. She used it to her advantage. I saw a couple of the men go ahead and
Mhm.
use that.
Right.
That's when it's at your advantage, in my
Mhm.
opinion. There were a couple times where I think the rules Everyone needs to know what you can do. So
Mm-hmm.
don't just pick up your mini when you're pissed off, right? Think about it. If it's going out of bounds, you can take your same lie and just go back.
Right.
But little things like that, man, that 50-50 green just makes me mad.
Yeah. I mean, 4-stroke swing on that hole. That
If you want to
alone.
put a green on a hill that's basically 50 degrees, get all the freaking rocks out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Put
And the
some flush
steps. You saw
grass.
so many people hit the steps, and you're 5 feet away, and then see ya.
Yeah. Get some
Yeah.
grass down there, or like some sort of like soft landing surface that's not just going to kick things up.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, don't put it there.
Mm-hmm.
Or change the angle somehow. Like I don't know. When it comes up to luck, I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah. I think if that hole was shorter, it would have played. I would have been okay with the green
Yeah.
because it was so long, especially in the MPO division, so freaking long, where like there's such a small amount of people that were trying to get there that it ended up messing up their shots, which then made that whole play a lot harder than it should have been because then you're playing with a weird green, so you're not really running the putt. So it actually, the drama was there because of bad rollaways and weird spit outs and stuff. It wasn't because they were bad shots, though. It wasn't because people were playing aggressive. It was the opposite.
Yeah.
People were playing incredibly boring and then getting destroyed by it.
Yeah.
Like, that's not, I'd rather say make that hole, pull it up a little bit the way the thing is or whatever, clear out the stuff because they built that there. You could have easily just put that, say, 150, 200 feet shorter, and then you got
Right.
people throwing full drivers into it. Then you're making the decision and going, am I going to throw a 14-speed driver on a hyzer and try to just knife it in? That's exciting to watch because then you have people that are going to lay up to the bottom with a mid-range instead of having to chance it and then approach. So it just changes the entire dynamic of the hole. So that was easily the worst hole on the course that we got to watch players just get destroyed on both sides, both divisions, and just bad.
Yeah, I am surprised how many people went out of bounds in general.
Oh god, yeah. Here we go. Let's wrap up
weekend.
the FPO side of things with the top OB. How many was it?
Dude, overall, it's well into the 100 or maybe even 200 out of bounds per round. That's per round for FPO. And the number one out of bounds was actually hole 6.
Really?
Which is the 341, the downhill hyzer for a righty.
Mm-hmm.
You're basically going into a little island over there.
Yeah.
Round 2, it had 33 out of bounds strokes. Round 4, 27. And then round 5, 23. So every round, it was the most out of bounds, more than any other hole.
Goodness gracious.
Which is really interesting. But it just makes me question the design. Like, I know the men and the women were playing the same T-pad on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But like, we'll look at the stats on MPO in a second, but it just makes me question, like, does Heinold look at this and change it? You know, does he make it a different T-pad? Does he soften the green? Does he widen the OB? Like, or is he happy with 30 plus out of bounds?
Dude, speaking of Heinold, on 15, he was standing there following the lead card for FPO, and Holland landed right next to the basket, and then it rolled all the way and almost hit Heinold's foot. And you just saw him standing there like
smug almost.
He was like, I did this. I made this happen. And it was just like, oh, like that. It just like was so painful to watch because it was just like, you had to put it there, didn't you? And I don't know. I wonder what the overall like just reaction from the FPO division, and I mean both divisions, and how they're going to feel coming back to this in a year. That's going to be interesting to see what this looks like coming back to this. If there's excitement, if there's I get to correct on this, or if it's like this course is too much and we just don't like it.
Yeah.
So all that to say, Evelina takes home her first world championship. One time she missed 6 circle one putts in the final round and persevered. Like you said, she didn't give up. I think that's the story here is she did not give up. And also, if you're so freaking good at driving, putting doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean,
you can drive for dough.
You can drive for dough, and you can win worlds with terrible putting. I hate to say it, and it was frustrating that it happened, but And then it's like, does this make it to where she's like, I don't need to putt. Screw it. Like, why would I putt now if I can win the world championships at my putt the way it is?
Because she would win every tournament if
Yeah,
she could
she
putt.
would.
Every
She really
tournament.
would.
She wouldn't lose if she could putt.
No, 100%. You're right. Well, let's move on to the MPO, where we had back-to-back champions for the first time since 2017, which I was at that Worlds here in Georgia, seeing Ricky
Yeah.
Wysocki go back-to-back. And not only is it back-to-back for the first time in, what is that, 8 years, 7 years? But Isaac Robinson becomes one of 3 people to ever win the world championships wire to wire, meaning they were in the lead at the beginning of each round, the end of round 1. Do you know who those other 2 people are that have done that?
Ricky did it?
No.
No?
Ricky did not win wire to wire. Nope.
Climo has never done it.
Not wire to wire. One of them's easy.
It's Paul
Macbeth. Paul Macbeth has done it. And Barry Schultz. It's the only other people that have won wire to wire. So pretty crazy to see. Isaac joins those 2 names. That was a stat from, I believe, from Brian Earhart. But I mean, that's to see Isaac's name next to that. And just at the top of this whole conversation about Isaac, do you think back-to-back world champion, 3rd person to ever do wire to wire, do you think this immediately puts him in the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Really? Okay. What makes you immediately say yes?
I think he's going to have to like have a longer career, which I think he'll be fine to play a long time. When you put yourself up on this echelon of players who no one can really touch, like who else is going to be able to say I'm a 2-time world champion? Just to say that is incredible. And then to do it back to back and wire to wire, like whether it's woods, whether it's in the open, doesn't really matter. I'm going to throw backhands and whoop some butt. That's another thing that
Isaac wasn't in our conversation when we were talking.
We didn't talk about him
because of the no forehand and because of an open bomber course. He was throwing full. Nate Doss, I will say, as much as people get annoyed with Nate and Terry, Nate had some great points, and one of them was that Isaac threw full power shots the entire time.
Yeah.
No matter if it was a mid-range, whatever, he threw the same power on every shot. And it was committed, it was confident, and he was in control. There was very, very like less than 5 times where I was watching the screen and I went, oh, Isaac looks like he's getting a little rattled. Like, and then it was like, oh yeah, he goes out of bounds. He took like a double and then a bogey at Ivy Hill. I think it was round 3 or was it round 4? Round 2. I forget when it was, but it was like the back-to-back holes where we were just like, what is happening? Yeah, it was
round 4.
Round 4. Yeah. On 6 and 7, we were just like, what? And then he's like, no, I'm good. And then just pops off. And then through the next 10 holes goes 6, 7 down through the last 10 holes.
Yeah.
I mean, he fell out of it and then was immediately back. And I got to be honest though, Isaac's not an exciting player to watch. He's not. People on Reddit were kind of roasting him and was like, this is the most sleeper win. Like, it was boring to watch. Like, we didn't have these big shots because he just plays the course exactly how it was designed. He's not throwing over the top of stuff. He's not doing anything crazy. He's hitting some big putts, but for the most part, he's matching the ground. He's playing. He's such like a top European style player. Like it is such an old school match the grade, move on, take minimal things. And that's what wins a 5-round tournament.
Yes. Yes. And Nate Doss talked about it a lot. He was saying Isaac plays this hole for par. We're going to see Isaac lay up and then make a good second shot and then approach the green for a par. And he executed that perfectly. And that's why I think people were probably saying that this is boring or this is kind of lackluster, but it's because he's just doing what he knows he needs to do. He's not worrying about who's behind him, or he's not worrying about pushing and getting the low score for the day. He's just playing what he knows he can do and doing it as best as he possibly can. There was a point where he had 7 holes, 6, 7 holes in a row, perfect shots. Every shot was a perfect shot until he got to hole 9, where he threw, actually, I guess hole 6, he went out of bounds. No, it was hole 9 where he went out of bounds and took a bogey. Up until that point, he was literally perfect.
Yeah.
He barely even had to putt.
Every single shot.
He barely even had to putt until hole 6 to make a 25-footer.
He was CTP on, I think they said on the coverage, he was CTP of the entire card up until hole 9. Like,
that's nuts.
Just waiting for everyone else to take their bogeys.
Just
It was
consistency, man.
crazy, man.
He's not flashy.
Mm-mm.
He's not, like you said, he's not throwing over the top. He's not throwing crazy rollers or air flex shots like Simon does. He's just throwing his game and he's making it work, and he's doing it with consistency. And that was the name of the game out here, is just who can play consistent golf.
Yep.
For males and females, just play consistent golf and you're going to climb. So I'm not surprised to see him up there. Not throwing forehands, I guess you really get away with it, especially out at Ivy Hill.
He did throw one
nothing.
Forehand on every round at Ivy Hill, and that was on hole 5. He threw backhand, and then his third shot was an approach with a very overstable fairway every single time, and every single time he was within like 1 foot of the pin.
Yeah, and we know he's got it, right? He'll pull it out every now and then.
Yeah.
But he's not going to do it off the tee usually.
Right. That was in the game plan of like, I will throw a forehand as the approach shot here every time. So he stuck to his game plan no matter what. And it was the cleanest game plan ever. And I mean, Gannon said it in the press conference. He was like, I've been playing with Isaac and he can do it again. Like, he's been beating me in this thing. He was perfect through 8 holes. You know, there was a lot of hype even coming into it where like, we weren't even thinking it. Not a lot of people were the storylines going in. Isaac Robinson's going back to back. That was not a leading storyline at all. And then, I mean, more people were excited about Ezra doing better than him. I mean, we were.
Yeah, like, I agree.
Yeah, so it's crazy to watch, but at the same time, man, back to back, like the 2-time, he added it looks like kind of like another arrow in his symbol, in his logo he has there, which is pretty cool.
That
with
is
the 2-time. Kind of looks like 11, but we'll give it to him. The 2 with the R and the arrow going through. It looks pretty clean.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing here, similar to FPO, the door was open and people didn't walk through it.
Yes.
Isaac definitely left the door open a couple times. This got down to 1 stroke. I believe Niklas took the lead at one point in the final round. Didn't he take the lead at one point in the final round, or was this round 4?
I think round 4.
Round 4
he taking the lead.
Yeah.
But
after
I mean,
those bogeys.
Look at the final 10 holes for Isaac. He got 1 birdie and 2 bogeys on the final 9 of the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Niklas was scoring, but he erased all of his birdies with bogeys.
Yep. Well,
so if he can flip, if he can flip those bogeys to pars, he's 1 stroke off the lead.
Right.
And then Isaac feels the pressure.
Yep.
And he maybe makes a more detrimental mistake.
Right.
But he was just coasting.
Yeah. And there was two times, and it was 11. Was it 11? What's the downhill one with the hay bales? I think that's 11. No,
I think
12. What hole is that? 341. In the final round, there was when they both went into the hazard, or they both were long and missed a putt on a par 3. I forget which one it was, but there was twice. It was before hole 14. It was in the front 9 or so, where they both, like, Isaac would miss a putt, Niklas was next, and he would miss it too. And Niklas, it was circle 2, and Isaac left the door open and to get 2 strokes, and both of those he would have been closer. So there was times when Niklas had amazing putts this tournament, but when it mattered, the putts that make you a world champion, the nerves got to him and he hit low and didn't commit on them.
Yeah.
There's that short par 3 around the corner that just took everyone's lunch, it felt like. And Niklas went low and was scared of it. And then it was the hay bale hole down that people were hitting the basket on, forget which hole that is. And just like, they both missed it. And the door was open a couple times and Niklas just didn't walk through it. And then we get to hole 14. Let's jump back on that freaking destruction of dreams hole again. Dude, which is kind of funny, and funny might be the wrong word. It's ironic. You think about who has had some of the worst spit outs in recent history. Ben Callaway and Isaac Robinson. Gannon Burr has some, but Gannon putts so hard where it's like when he spits out, it's like, I mean, we're not surprised here, but Isaac has had some of the worst spit outs, spit throughs, like worst. If you put the Nomez just top 10 of all time, Isaac would be probably 6 of them, like on putting. So for Niklas to hit dead center on hole 14, we've talked about the design already. One thing we didn't talk about was the height of your putt coming into it.
Yeah.
It was not a fast putt. It was not a putt that should have missed dead center and rolls all the way out of bounds and goes from what would have been a 1-stroke gain becomes a 1-stroke loss. It was so painful. And you could just tell he realized it in that moment. It was, I'm out.
It's a crappy thing because the hole almost makes you play from the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
Like in a way, if you want to keep it safe, like play from the bottom of the hill, you have like a 45-footer uphill, which is not easy. But then you think about the design of these baskets.
Yep.
The baskets are, I mean, the chains are slanting outward if you're coming from the bottom. So you hit it and it's just going right back where it came from, right? The only way, in my opinion, to make sure that you're catching with those is hyzering it in or somehow like landing it like a basketball shot.
Yep.
You know, but for it to hit dead center and not even have a chance to stick really pissed me off. I wanted it, dude. I wanted 2 Finnish champions, honestly. As much as I love Isaac and I want to represent Georgia and see the back-to-back, 2 Finnish champions, the first Finnish champions ever, would have been incredible. And that was a separator that really just got stolen from Niklas. And that's what made me feel so sour about it. That would have been a huge advantage.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was brutal. So I mean, Niklas, what a fight. I mean, I called him on the podium coming into this. He ends up losing by, was it 4 at the end of it? And man, just what a freaking fight it was. His stats were incredible. We got to say, I mean, for him to hit 95% putting, he missed 3 putts inside the circle all week long, only to be bested by, I mean, a guy who was in 96 and 132nd, which I mean, they're probably laying up for some of that stuff. Grady Shue, 97%.
Eagle.
And Eagle McMahon, we'll talk about him in a second, 96%. Missed 2 putts in the circle. Circle 2 putting as well was a big thing in this tournament because a lot of those circle 2s were needed to be able to get yourself to save par a lot. And I mean, we'll jump into Luke Taylor here in a sec. His circle 2 putting was incredible. Isaac as well. But when it came down to it, Niklas missed a couple circle 2 putts down the stretch, which cost him a world title and $10,000.
Yeah. Pretty wild. I will say one thing, props to Niklas and a couple other guys too. 0 double bogey or worse.
Wow.
Niklas, Raven Newsom, Paul Macbeth, and Shane McCullen. Don't know who Shane is, but all 4 of them, 0 double bogeys or worse, which I find insane.
Insane at this course. Insane. And I mean, Raven Newsom finishing solo 12th. Top 15 finish at the World Championships. Great job there. Let's jump over to Eagle McMahon. Not a lot of hype around him this season. A lot of disappointment, a lot of frustration. He has been very vocal about it. I've always enjoyed watching Eagles vlogs because for a long time he was one of my favorite players. Just because he was one of the first people to start treating disc golf like I'm going to start caring about it in every part of my life. And he's also one of the most vocal players. You love him or hate him, he's honest with how he's feeling. And I mean, from punching the ground, breaking his hand at USCGC to like he has been through it, to shoulders, to all this stuff, and he's been resilient. And moving to MVP, there's been a lot of like, woof, what a waste what that was. Man, Discmania got out at the right time, all that stuff. Well, screw that, because he finished on the podium at the World Championships and never gave up in that. And his putting was incredible. And this is a course in which he throws extremely far, had so much advantage. He actually went OB long on 14, I believe twice. He went OB long on his second shot, which is like a 550-foot shot, which is ridiculous.
I'm excited for him to be like fully healthy again.
He is healthy for sure.
It seems like he's getting it back. It's just now like getting the momentum and maybe like the body mechanics have changed a little bit.
Yeah.
This proved to me that he is not far off from climbing back and being in contention all over.
Yeah. And with the tournaments we have coming up, I mean, there's no stopping. Every one of these tournaments coming up, my goodness, can Eagle McMahon win it? Like, especially next tournament, D-Glow. I think Eagle has a really good shot at D-Glow in 2 weeks. We'll jump to that at the end in our predictions, but he's definitely my pick for D-Glow, just the way he's finishing it out. But his stats were incredible. His putting, he's finally learning the discs with confidence. His mental game has been, kind of rocky, but he's been very vocal about just going kind of quiet on social media and pushing forth and doing it. 100% putting final round, jumps up 2 spots, and yeah, it was great to see him. Disc golf, we say this a lot. Disc golf's better when certain people are at the top, and Eagle's one of them because he's such a big face of the sport. And I think it's really great to see his name back in the mix. Luke Taylor, a name that we've heard very rarely, but a couple times this season. Dude, what a weekend for the guy from Michigan.
The young gun.
Finding himself in the league card after the first round, only 2 strokes back, falls off of it, and then he just held on for dear life and finished off, was on the league card for the last 3 rounds as well. Not a name, not someone I had any knowledge that he would be this consistent when it shows. World Championships always do it. It was Aaron Gossage that year. It was Emerson Keith the other year, where it's like, wow, I knew this guy was kind of, he's here. And then all of a sudden, oh, World Championships, he's here to play. What a freaking crowd pleaser this dude is. He had the hype around him, huge putts. His energy was absolutely unmatched. And it was exactly what we needed. Dude, on the sleeper freaking times when I was like, okay, back in the fairway. Thanks, Isaac, for being the best and making us upset. It's like Luke Taylor's like, I'm out of bounds. I'm going to hit a freaking Anheuser putt through the woods from 80 feet, and the whole crowd, yeah. Like, it was,
those
Luke
putts
Taylor
at New London were insane.
So crazy. And dude, at Ivy Hill too. Like, he was the most exciting thing in this tournament. He really was.
Dude, he hit out of 21 Circle 2 putts, he hit 12 of them.
Dude, yes.
His total putt,
nuts.
1,500 feet.
Oh my God.
And his longest was outside Circle 2. 74 feet.
Yeah. Dude.
He gained a ton of strokes putting in general.
Yeah, I'm sure.
8 strokes putting gained, which puts him at in the top 7.
But dude has it all. It's so easy. His distance looks like, I think he's taking another swing on his run up. I don't think he's actually going to throw sometimes when he would, practice a little shot and, maybe you're a little bit slower and, you're taking your walk up. No, his walk up was like, oh, he actually did throw. Like it like took me to a surprise a couple times, and he throws bombs
so smooth,
so far, so smooth. Yeah, I mean, his average putt was extremely long, and just, God, it was so fun to watch this kid play.
Nate was talking about how he was really kind of putting on a show for some of these guys on lead card, in the sense that like I'm gonna put it way out there. He's out driving some of the best throwers in the game, right? And kid's 18 years old.
Love it.
Like we keep talking about Gannon as like, the only real guy who's going to compete at this young of an age. But like, look at Cole, look at him.
Yeah, I think Gannon's the one that comes to mind and is obvious because of the consistency at that age. We have guys like Luke Taylor, and the wins and like knowing how to close it out at such a young age. But Luke Taylor's one that's like, oh, okay, like he's got it. He in my mind is very similar to Cole, where it's like, hey, you're gonna pop off, but we're gonna keep your name in our minds. We're gonna know that you're here, and every now and then you'll show up and just shred. But man, if he can stay hot and just, now he knows what it feels like to be at a major 4 rounds out of 5 at the World Championships and be in it, dude. And his mom's on the bag, like it's wholesome. It's like he had it all, and it was just so freaking fun to watch. I'll say it again, he was the most fun part of this World Championships for me. I was excited to see him throw every time he threw the shot.
Absolutely. Another guy that I really was keeping tabs on was Calvin Heimberg. And until the final few holes, Vinny was still in the mix.
He really was. But also, I felt it in my soul. I went, waiting for it to mess up. I just like could feel it. And it was like, oh, he's not. Well,
it's like the last 15, 16, and 17. He goes out of bounds 4 times in those 3 holes.
Yep.
Takes a bad par, double bogey, and a single bogey. And that, if he pars 16 and 17, he's in second place.
Yep.
3 strokes off Isaac. Would have been his highest finish at Worlds ever.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. It just comes down to a couple of things out there. But dude, the pressure is something that we can't even imagine.
Oh no, not at all. Think about the pressure. Like, I mean, the biggest tournament I think I've ever played, like that I've played in, was college national championships. that was like the biggest tournament. That and Carolina Clash with the A tier. Like, but I think about like it was a different nerve settings, and like in the grand scheme of things, those are small tournaments.
Yes.
They're not huge. I'm playing a Q series later this year. Maybe I'll feel a different way. Like that'll be the biggest one. But it's like,
but you don't have spectators.
no,
You
it's
don't have
different.
cameras running behind the basket to try to get your angle of you making a putt.
Yeah. I feel like I noticed that way more than normal this tournament, maybe because of the sightlines. The Jomez guys specifically felt like they were, especially the forget the guy's name. It does a bunch of slow-mo stuff for him. I recognize him. Like, dude, they were like behind the basket.
Right behind it.
Every single, and like within 30 feet of it. Like every single time. I felt like they were like right if my microphone's the basket, they were like in line with it.
There were a few times where I was like, if I'm a player, like put myself in the situation, would I ask him to move over? Or would I just say like, he's not there, and try to make my putt regardless? Like that's crappy to put a pro in that situation where it's like you're going to notice this guy.
Right. But I think it's the growth of our sport and it's media. And you look at freaking NBA players shooting free throws. Are you kidding me? You got a freaking clear backboard with thousands of people right behind you going nuts, screaming, trying to do it.
I think people are a little bit easier. Like the crowd is a little bit easier if they're still like with putting. Like I want everyone to be still, but having the camera specifically, I feel like is a different thing. That's like the eyes of the world.
True.
The eyes of the world are on you, and you're trying to just focus on the chains. That feels different to me, man. I feel like those people need to be a little more respectful of sight lines and like just be periphery. That's where I would want them.
Yeah.
Like you can get a good angle.
Yeah. I think you're right. And I think there's definitely a happy medium. It's also different. I was trying to think, I was like, well, do they do this in ball golf? And I was like, yeah, they do. But in ball golf, where's your head? You're looking straight down. You're not looking at all. In disc golf, you're looking straight ahead at someone. Like, and it's such a big thing. And I think you're right. It was a little bit more than I liked to see, but also I'll say while we're talking about cameras, I was surprised there weren't more cameras set up as like solid camera, like stationary cameras. And I know that comes from, budget cuts and everything going with the tour. At a course like this, with the knowledge that we're going to head here and there's going to be very distinct open shots, I was surprised there wasn't more. So, and with how long these courses are, like I would love to, if you're a pro player listening to this, or maybe we could reach out to some, I want to see your step count from these 5 days.
Oh my gosh.
I cannot imagine
Proctor's step count on day 5.
Just Proctor's
30,000 steps.
Dude, probably, more than that.
Gosh.
Like my step count at a 2-round, the unsanctioned thing Hayden and I won at Oregon Park Championships was 26,000. And that was 2 rounds in a 10-hole playoff. That was at Oregon Park, a little freaking county course. So anyway, let's wrap this up here in a sec. Go ahead.
I'm going to add something just while we're griping about DGN. I wrote down some other DGN gripes. First of all, there was a moment in the final round where they were showing Kat putt, and on the bottom line, they updated it and as a birdie before she actually made the putt. Small thing.
Did she make it?
She made the putt.
Okay.
But the small thing is like I saw the score change and it dropped her, her score down. And I'm like, okay, 10 seconds later, she makes the putt. I'm like, okay, that's dumb. You guys shouldn't do that. What really bothers me though, is when they're cutting to a camera and the dude's got it on his freaking shoulder and he's walking around. So all you see is the ground or you see the friggin' trees or something. I'm like, yeah, guys,
dude, there's this, that's like, you're a switcher. You're looking at previews. You can see before you hit go. You can see it,
dude. That's just Bush League. That is low level, bad quality.
Yep.
That's something has to change if people want to take this sport seriously. We can't have bad cuts like that.
Yep.
Or
I mean, as someone who works in church media in Atlanta with North Point, like mega churches, dude, we do better than what DGN's doing on a weekly basis with volunteers. And you're looking at a switcher. Yes, the budget's different and all those things, but I agree. There's moments where I was like that, or what you may be about to say this, the microphone's not being on for interviews. Brother, I was like, we were sitting there at your house on that Wednesday before we went to the Braves game. And I was like, what's he saying? Huh? What's he saying? Because it's like, you have no idea what the interview questions are because the mic's not on.
Mic's not even on. It's like he's whispering, and then the player starts talking, and you can hear everything.
Oh gosh, made me so mad.
But it's that, and then honestly, man, it's the catch cam switch that also bothers me because you'll get the guy behind the tee pad looking down the fairway, the player throws, and they're standing right in the middle. And it takes 3, 4, 5 seconds, and then they cut.
Yeah.
Just to see the disc land on the ground. I'm like, you guys, let's get the release. Let's cut to the catch cam.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. Let me see the flight of the Frisbee, please.
We did go to drones a lot at Ivy Hill, which I wasn't against a lot of times, but it got to a point where I was like, I like seeing form. I'm fine with out of the hand cut drone shot, but when it's drone shot the entire time and I don't get to see the angle of like the height of release, I just see it. That was kind of annoying, but I will say it was nice to have a course. And this is, again, the perks of being on a golf course where we were able to have a lot more drone shots. And I think that actually added a lot. Also, while we're on the media thing, this is big tangent. The social media game from the actual PDGA page this week was tops. Ooh. They had some like cinematic, and I say this because I shoot this kind of like content when I'm at tournaments, and like when we were at Des Moines, I shot a lot of this content of like cinematic mode, slow, really close to you, that 5x lens on an iPhone or cameras, whatever they were using, and really cool. Like, this is how you birdie hole 5. And it was like high quality, just like quick 30-second, like Instagram specific social media cuts. And I thought that was awesome to see from the PDGA's page specifically. Whoever they contracted for that or started doing that, I thought that was super tasteful, and it felt so professional to see that instead of all the PDGA posting as static images. I loved that, and I think that it needs to happen more because it's that grows the sport. Because those are the kind of things that reels pop off and people see, and it's such high quality things where that was definitely someone's job. That's all they did was like social media, vertical video. That needs to be someone that's doing that all the time, because that was so many more eyes on that and on the actual PDGA Instagram. I thought that was huge. I loved it all week.
That is something cool to note for sure. And I know it's all a learning curve, but like I've never been one to say like, I don't want to pay to watch disc golf. That's not cool. Like, I'm happy to pay for a subscription to watch live sports. I'm happy to watch live disc golf. I love it. I love that we can do that. Right?
We're Braves fans. It's called. It's a big
I can't even watch my baseball team. I put headphones in. And I listen to the radio broadcast. That's the only way I can even observe it. But it's these little things that will make it look clean and crisp and easier to follow.
Right.
That right now it's a consistent downfall that I've noticed just all the time. So not specifically Worlds talk, but
yeah, overall
it was there. It was there. I think it was a fun Worlds to watch. The ending was not my favorite.
The final round was sleeper, dude. Like, we were
not my favorite. I was like, man, this is like, I'm happy for both Evelina and Isaac, but I was a little annoyed at the end.
The FPO, I will say, we talked about already, but the FPO was so crazy to watch. I was sitting at front of house. I was running audio at a church, and I was sitting up front of house with it on my iPad. And one of our the producer that morning was my friend Jordan. She's only watched disc golf when I like have it on like Sunday mornings in between stuff. And she was like locked in. She was like, why are they missing putts? I don't understand. And I was like, she was like so locked in about it. But we were both just like laughing and like literally watching it, just going like, oh my God. Like, it was dramatic as heck for the wrong reasons. Yes. But it was dramatic. And we talked about FPO more than we ever have on this podcast today, because it was much more dramatic. It was much more stuff going on, but I hate that it's taken away and people are giving Isaac some crap online going, it's the most boring Worlds, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, it was a record setting Worlds and he shredded. And maybe that's not the most fun to watch. I wanted to see Anthony Barella continue on. Good Lord, did he fall off in the final round, or not in the final round, in all the rounds prior. He finished tied 13th. So not terrible, but there were just some big rises, some big falls in this Worlds, which you have over a 5-round tournament. Sure. Last thing before we talk upcoming tournaments, because good Lord, is there a lot of them. Gage, our producer, mentioned this. Should we have more 5-round tournaments throughout the year? Right now, we have 4-round tournaments at playoff ones at the DGPT Plus and at USDGC. 5 rounds is the only time, or in Pro Tour Championships. 5 rounds is only Worlds. Do you think we should have more 5-round tournaments? Why or why not?
Yeah, I think there's at least one more major that should be a 5-round tournament. Like Champions Cup could easily be a 5-round
But it's
tournament.
got to
in
be
my
a
opinion.
major, is what you're saying. It's not like, oh, we
I
just
think
up
I
to
think it
4.
should be
Mhm.
because if you're, I mean, the whole idea is more opportunity to screw it up,
Right.
right? Or if you're playing insanely well, more opportunity to climb,
Mhm.
right? So the cream rises to the top. That's the way it
Right.
works. And so I like it because of the
Mhm.
way that is. Granted, that has to fit into a schedule where you have a
Yeah.
week before and a week after to recover, because there's no way I'm going to play Wednesday to Sunday after probably doing practice rounds on Monday, Tuesday, immediately drive somewhere else across country and then
Right.
get back on it and do it. I don't want that to have to happen. So
Mhm.
for the player's sake, I would say if it fits a schedule, yes. But on a perspective of a viewer and like watching people play their best golf, I want 5-round tournaments, at
Mhm.
least one more. I think one is just not enough.
Agreed. And I think one's not enough because then it goes, all right, this is the only one. Let's see who's got it. Where's the
Right.
stamina come in? And there's not like, there's an expectation of it where it's like, what was there a need for 5 rounds this tournament? I don't think so. But at least on the MPO side, I don't think we needed a final round.
Yeah,
Like, not much changed. And
you're right.
it didn't really feel like. I will counter argument saying I think it'd be way better than this schedule that we have, and I haven't looked deep into the 2025 schedule. We'll talk about that more in depth as we get closer to it. I would rather see more 4-round tournaments and have a week in between and give players time to rest, because I think a 4-round, and I'm talking 3-round and a cut, as the
Yeah,
payouts get bigger, as our sport grows, it's more eyes on it. It's more people buying tickets, and it's everything. There's a lot that has to go into that to actually let it have 3 rounds and a cut. But I think that, again, the cream rises to the top, and I think it provides consistent final day. These are the best players. We're not wasting anyone's time, and eventually being able to spread cameras, spread. There's a lot that goes into that, but I'm a
yeah,
big fan of 4 rounds with a cut. I think the playoff and DGPT Plus tournaments are nailing it. It feels great, and it's just enough disc golf. And I think it also says, hey, we can play course 1, course 2, course 1, course 2, or we can play one straight 4. It's not. It doesn't feel like too much, but it's
yeah.
just enough. So
I like that.
overall, Worlds for me. If I had to give this Worlds a 5 out of 5-star rating, with the top obviously being, I mean, James Conrad's World Championships is 5 stars, and
Of
then it's
course.
like, yeah, whatever. I think this is like 3.5.
Yeah, that's
I
about
would
where I'm
say is
putting
where
it.
I'd sit. It wasn't amazing, but it definitely was okay. So I don't know. I think there could have been more, there could have been less. But let's jump to the rest of the season, because my God, we got a week off this week, and we are not stopping for what, 6 straight tournaments. We
Yeah,
got
so we've got
D-Glow, Green Mountain Championship, MVP Open, USDGC Pro Tour Championships,
there is a week between D-Glow
MVP.
and Green Mountain.
Oh, there is. You're right.
There's 1 week, but then after Green Mountain, they immediately do MVP,
Mhm.
and then there is 1 week before Rock Hill USDGC. But
There
then
is 1
it's
week?
it's the
22nd.
29th, 26th, and then they start on the 10th.
Oh, okay. So there is 1 week in between.
There's 1 week for, I think, because everyone, I mean, to travel from Massachusetts to South
Mhm.
Carolina, like, that's a good drive.
And you got Monday qualifiers. You got a lot of other stuff going on during that
Yeah.
week.
And then,
Um,
but it is
Carolina Clash during the week.
USDGC and the DGPT championships are back-to-back weekends.
Yeah, which they've done that for the past couple of years, which is nice because they are 30 minutes away from each other. Next year, they're not 30 minutes away from each other. From what it looks like right now, it's going to be back at New London, which is only a couple hours, but still. So this train's not stopping anytime soon. Once we get rolling, I already made my pick for D-Glow, which is in 2 weeks. I think Eagle McMahon can take it down. I think he has, that is a course that is not very different than if you combine North London and Ivy Hill, I would say you have a baby that's name is D-Glow. Like, it looks just like it.
You're not wrong. You're not
It
wrong.
is, and I think Eagle showed that he was in a great position to do it, and I think it would be awesome to see him take a win. Is it last year he did win one, or was last year the first year he didn't in a long time?
Eagle,
Yeah.
he came in second last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's right. But I was saying in general, isn't it like he's won a tournament? He's won a Pro Tour event every year. Isn't he one of those people? Eagle came in second at MVP Open last year.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, he did not win a Pro Tour event. He won a Silver Series.
He won 2 Silver Series last year.
He did win 2 Silver Series and the Goat Hill.
Mhm. Yeah, okay, never
But
mind.
yeah,
I was thinking he was one of those people that's like won one. No, Ricky is the one that I'm thinking of that's won one event at least every year for the last like 10 years or something crazy.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, looking at this, the PDGA website has officially updated their world champion photos.
Yep.
We got Evelina with the 1,
Yep.
Isaac with the 2.
I have my small windows going, but we gotta spread it out a little more. Evelina changed shirts for her. She
Yeah.
was like, "I'm wearing the gray, different hat." Isaac changed hats, which that hat looks kind of dumb on him. I'll let that sit. It's like a floaty.
It's the ears under the cap for me,
Dude, I
man.
know, it's
I'm
funny,
not
like,
into it. I'm not
and
into
the
it.
2 time
Oh,
yeah.
man.
It's a good looking shirt, though. It's a good looking shirt. Yeah, so D-Glow, I feel like Eagle just has got it, man. I think I would love to see it. On the FPO side, I mean, I don't know. I think Kristen comes back and just shreds.
I
I think
think
there's a
Kristen's
lot of
gonna be
frustration
fiery.
the
She's gonna
rest of
be
the season.
pissed. Yeah.
I think she's gonna be super fiery the rest of the season. Um, last thing we'll talk about before we wrap up here. It's a contract year for Isaac Robinson. He said that in, I believe, his post, his Facebook post. It was. I can pull it up real quick. And he said he was like, it's great to see this happen in a contract year. And I was like, oh, okay. Like just straight up said it because also on this Reddit thread I mentioned earlier, there was someone that said, let me find it. It was like, is Isaac the least moved plastic champion? Like I was like, oh, dang, like you're not wrong. Like,
like people just don't buy it.
Is he? Here we go. Is he the lowest volume 2-time world champion? And someone immediately replied, hard to move plastic throwing prodigy these days. So
Yeah, I mean, fair, especially with like some of the things that are happening with like player movement on their end. So here's my question. Like, okay, Prodigy's about to throw something
they have
pretty sweet at him, right? Like he needs one of these $1 million contracts.
and it needs
right?
to be
Like,
public, and it needs to show that Prodigy is not falling as hard as people are, and it needs
sure.
to like fly him in on a helicopter, go Ricky on him.
Dude, well, because think about it. If you lose Isaac, you're probably losing Ezra.
I would assume.
Like they're not a package deal, but you want to keep the brothers together. So they're going to throw whatever they can at him. Do you think other companies have something written up for him?
I don't know. I've said it for a while that Latitude 64 needs a American man to carry the brand, but I don't know if that's even necessary anymore because of House of Discs. House of Discs. It's hard not to say that. House of Discs. You're welcome if you made it this far. It's just oh, it's great. You're welcome. Enjoy that. Clip that. Yeah, I think it's just it's going to be interesting to see what that happens. But the fact that he mentioned it in his post is crazy. Here's a bonus on my Facebook. Bonus back to back. Here we go. The MPO wire to wire wins at Worlds is Barry Schultz in 04, Paul Macbeth 2013, Ricky 2016, Isaac 2024. Bonus, the only back to back MPO world champions is that list and Ken Climo.
Yeah.
So
dude,
Isaac Robinson,
like, it's a shoe in for Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
you've got to be. He's got to be.
Yeah, man. But let me find his post though. What he said about the contract year. It was pretty interesting to hear. Here we go. Maybe he said it in the interview. Maybe it wasn't in this. Thank you for all the support. Been able to meet wonderful people across the world. Got a good streak going. Yeah, he didn't say. Maybe it was in. I heard him say it. I remember hearing him say that like out of his mouth or reading a thing. But it definitely was kind of surprising to hear him say that or to post that. Like, it's great to play this way in a contract year. I was like, oh, so kind of calling him out, like Prodigy, you gotta pay up or move to the side.
Dude, seriously though, like it's time for them to put their money on someone.
Mm-hmm.
They've been cleaning up for a very long time. I imagine for a moment like this, you got to go all in. That's my take. I go all in on this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I would give him everything he needs to stay with us forever.
Yep.
Or at least for something like 5+ years.
Yep.
I would want a long-term contract. Unless there's something business-wise that I just don't know.
Yeah, but it comes down to selling plastic. It's going where's the ROI? We've talked about that a lot on this podcast. Where's the ROI from players? Are you moving plastic? Is it worth the money? And even if we invest in you and you just make all this money, is it worth it? Great, you're a world champion, but do you clean out our shelves?
And then you have the sub question, can you move Prodigy plastic?
Yeah, which that in itself is difficult. So anyway, let's wrap this thing up. It's been a lot of long episodes lately, so we'll get out of here. But yeah, World Championships, 3.5 stars for us. If you're over on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. We need to say that at the top. Maybe people will do it more. I don't know. But for us here at Parked Podcast, I've been Mitch Phillips, Zach Harrison. Man, World Championships come and gone, but we got a lot of disc golf coming. And Mr. Zach, sign us off.
Yeah, peace, love, disc golf, y'all. Keep it real.
See you guys in the next one. Peace.